First of all, a Happy New Year to you, and what a great start into 2022. New Year's Eve was on a Friday, we recovered on a Saturday, and I hope you didn't have to work yesterday. And what an even better way to spend the first day of work of this year with my favorite people, the NASNPRO family of empowered estheticians. Before we go into the nitty-gritty, I would like to use this opportunity also to share with you a recent study that has shown that even though we all were hit hard by lockdowns and the inflation, people in the US in general, on average, have accumulated more savings. And due to the stimulus checks, higher unemployment payouts, and less opportunity to spend it, the study showed also that this is the reason that actually most are willing to spend a little more and invest into their self-care and well-being. So put your fears aside and look positively into this year. As you can see, my name is Jennifer Crable, and I am the Client Care Manager and National Educator for the EpiPen and the German skincare line Dr. Grandel. I'm a born Floridian with a German accent, in case you wondered. I grew up in Germany and I lived 27 years, where my career in the industry of cosmetics actually started. So I was the export manager for a developer and producer of active ingredients. I met a lot of laboratories worldwide, and I worked with them in developing skincare products, anything from professional to mass market. But I became more interested in the actual work with skin. So I became an esthetician in Germany in 2009, and then started to be a representative and trainer for Dr. Grandel, which I'm still doing here in the US. Today, I would like to share some of my insight from working in the development and research of skincare ingredients. And because more than ever, we are aware of the science in nature, and using this in skincare is really fascinating. So hold on tight as we're going into the biomimicry of skincare. First of all, we look at what biomimicry means. Then I will show you the how of a biomimic ingredient that most of you know or have heard of. And then I will also show you something that proves that skincare is not just moisturizing. If you have any questions during the presentations, just ask them in form of a comment, and I'll try to answer them in between. So what is biomimicry? Biomimicry falls under the umbrella of bioinspiration, which is simply some sort of creation based on a biological system, and more deeply of biomimetics, which combines biology and technology to solve a practical problem. So a good example for this is Velcro, inspired by those little sticky balls of the burdock burr plant. If you ever went for a walk and you had these little tiny things stick to your socks, that was the burdock burr plant. So that inspired to create Velcro, which is well used nowadays, of course. So in skincare, it is low molecular hyaluronic acid, for example. So high molecular hyaluronic acid is too large to penetrate into the skin, right? So therefore, with the help of the enzyme hyaluronidase, the large molecule is broken into smaller molecules. Then within biomimetics falls also bioreplication, which is the direct reproduction of a biological structure to realize a specific functionality. So one example is that in farming, a replica of a female ash borer, which is a bug, is made with fabrics which attracts male ash borers into traps. So ash borers are very invasive and destroy a lot of crops. This is how farmers are using bioreplication to solve their problem. In skincare, an example would be embryonic stem cells. Then there is bionics, which is based on robotics and uses mechanical systems that function like living organisms. For example, the bionic ear. You might have watched the movie Sound of Metal, where a drummer loses his hearing and then he gets a bionic ear to hear again. So in skincare, I don't have an example yet. Maybe one day we'll have a little robot in our skin stitching together damages and the connective tissue or so, but we're not right there yet. And then lastly, biomimicry is based on eco-design, meaning nature is taking as a model to achieve a certain goal, but the development is highly respecting sustainability in a social, environmental, and economical perspective. For example, plant stem cells. Those are extracted from its source without destroying the plant. So now we're going to look at the how. Oftentimes we hear the product has such and such ingredient, which does this and that, but we rarely get to know the how does it actually do that on cell level? What does it really do? So since plant stem cells are a perfect example for biomimicry, I've chosen that to take a closer look at how those really work. I'm sure you have heard about plant stem cells from your product supplier, and you know that they rejuvenate the skin, but what exactly does that mean? So let's start at the basics here. We know we have the stratum corneum, which is made out of keratinocytes or dead skin cells, as the outermost layer for protection. Our favorite layer is the basal layer, of course, because there are the living cells. And we learn in school that the cells divide and get pushed to the surface to become a keratinocyte, but actually not every cell does that. So I often see surprised eyes when I mention this, but really it's not all cells that divide, it's really only our stem cells that divide. Those are the only ones who also replenish and maintain the balance of the cells within the skin and regenerate damaged tissue. They're able to renew themselves, which happens due to intrinsic proteins they express, and also extrinsic signals, from hormones, peptides, and so on. Unfortunately, stem cells eventually become less active as we age and die off, like with everything, right? Which results in less repair and less skin renewal. And therefore, epidermal stem cells are the primary factor in skin aging. Now, keeping stem cells healthy, awake, and increasing their number is essential for life. A really interesting part is that stem cells either create new identical stem cells by asymmetric cell division, as you can see here on the left side, but they can also differentiate to become a specialized cell by asymmetric cell division, as you can see over here on the right. That could end up being a regular skin cell, for example, that just becomes a keratinocyte and eventually flakes off. Now, to this day, science hasn't fully uncovered what influences the kind of cell division a stem cell is going to undergo, but it is believed that it depends on the microenvironment of the stem cell. And a microenvironment is best if it consists of niche cells that support stem cells, fibronectin, which is a binding material, collagen 1 and 4, heparin sulfate, chondroitin sulfate, and hyaluronic acid. Also interesting is that TGF-beta, which is a tissue growth factor, has shown to inhibit the activity of stem cells. Now, TGF-beta is activated by inflammation to heal wounds. So you might know this from microneedling. This shows actually that if you cause a lot of bleeding when you do microneedling, for example, it has a lot of iron. So that causes inflammation. Until those wounds are healed and the iron of the blood is taken care of, the stem cell activity is inhibited. Now, many skincare companies work with epo-stem cells. And you might have 1 or 2 products with it as well, and you know that they're really amazing. There is only one company that produces them. The company is based in Switzerland, and the only epo stem cells that work well or for epidermal stem cells is a Swiss apple called Malus domestica. Now, this apple is famous for its long stability. Even though it is stored for a long time, it doesn't shrivel up easily. The stem cells of this apple are rich in nutrients, proteins, and especially long-living tissue stem cells. And those were carefully extracted and then were tested on human skin stem cells. Now, interesting enough, the study showed that it increases the number of epidermal stem cells. So it created the perfect microenvironment, which leads to a symmetric division, which results in a higher stem cell amount and therefore a better performance. And this is why products with apo stem cells could also be called the fountain of youth. Another perfect example for biomimicry in skincare are peptides. And I'd like to take you backstage now and show you the scientifically proven effects of peptides. And we know there are a bunch of different ones, and they all do different, they all give different signals and have different functions. But I like to take one that is brand new, and it's called the Biomimetic peeling for skin rejuvenation. So this peptide has a peeling effect without any scrubbing, rubbing, or any damage to the skin at all. And the company that is producing this peptide did a couple of different tests, and to show the peeling effect and the improvement of the stratum corneum structure. And they were using something called scanning electron microscopy. Now here for this test, they used 3 volunteers aged from 24 to 63, and they applied a gel with 1% of that peptide and a placebo, which means it's the gel without the peptide, just the gel. They applied this twice daily for 17 days to the inner side of the forearms, and then those areas were tested. So on day 17, their forearms were stripped with tape strips, and it really looks like a regular tape strip, and they strip the same area for a couple of times. And then they analyzed with the scanning electron microscopy what was happening in each layer, that means in each tape strip. So here you can see it showed that the number of cell layers stripped off with the tape was reduced, which represents that the desquamation, so the flaking off, was more even and regular without forming any scales. And the space between the cell layers actually was also reduced. And then here you can see there was another test method that shows the wrinkle reduction in percentage and also the increase of smoothness. This is done with a so-called laser profilometry. And for this, a largely magnified image is produced by using electrons instead of light to form the image. So there's a beam of electrons produced at the top of the microscope by an electron gun, and that electron beam follows a vertical path through the microscope. Then it travels through the electromagnetic fields and lenses, which focuses the beam down towards the skin sample. And once the beam hits that sample, the electrons and X-rays are ejected. And then there are certain detectors that are able to detect the X-rays, the backscattered electrons and secondary electrons, and convert them into a signal that is sent to a screen, similar to a television screen. And this produces the final image. I know it's very technical, but please stay with me. So here you can see the optimal smoothness is in the yellow areas. This is when the skin is very nice and smooth and, not all over the place. And the result here is that actually the red areas and the blue areas decreased and balanced more into the yellow range. So this means that the skin becomes very tight and smooth. The wrinkles are less, and the smoothness is higher. Yeah, so I know this is very technical. I just wanted to show you this so you can actually see yourself that skincare really works. I know you see it when you do facials, but then you sometimes have those clients that say, I don't need to come, skincare doesn't work. So here for 100% that it does work. But the other side is that this also shows these results occurred due to a regular application. So we do magic sometimes in our facials, but that one time just isn't enough. Like everything has to be. It is an organ just like everything else. It needs nourishment on a daily basis, and it needs the right nourishment, which we estheticians have. Okay, so we're at the end for today, and I would like to say thank you, NASNPRO, for building this incredible platform for continued education. I personally love NASNPRO because knowledge is power, and it creates a confidence which leads to more success. And networking brings new ideas and raises motivation. And NASNPRO just has a really nice way to combine both, and in a more private setting and safe setting, so we estheticians really get the full benefit of it. The other thing I like about NASNPRO, it's not just you're not just a number, you're not just a participant, or you're not just a vendor. There's a true community, and we all work together really well. And it's a community that really cares, and that's what I love about NASNPRO. Now, the other great thing about NASNPRO is that you can get great goodies. You will have the chance to win an amazing basket later that has goodies from every speaker. And I just wanted to quickly show you ours this time is the Pro Collagen Concentrate from Dr. Grandel. Of course, it's cruelty-free, and there are no animal products are used. It's amazing also for the neck and the hands. And if you win the basket and you have questions about it, here are my contact details. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. Yeah, everyone, I thank you so much for listening, your attention, and I just would like for you to stay that motivated and passionate esthetician that you are. Again, my name is Jennifer Crable, and if you have any questions, you can reach me via cell, email, Facebook, and Instagram. Thank you. Bye-bye.